And then on the farm, we have the goats and the alpacas and a potbelly pig and a goose and a duck and some chickens. And they're a lot of fun.
Welcome Adventures. In this episode, I speak with Rachel from Pet Pedes and Pods. I met Rachel at the Cleveland, Ohio show. In this episode, we learned about her day job, her hobby farm, Pet Pedes and Pods origin story, and all the standard pet-related and reptiles-related questions that I usually ask. Buckle up and join us.
To the music. Welcome Adventures. Today we have Rachel from Pet Pedes and Pods. I never get that right. I always get it backwards. But Rachel, would you go ahead and just introduce yourself and go from there?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm with Pet Pedes and
Mm-hmm.
Pods. Um, we do bioactive clean-up crews, vivariums, supplies, all that good stuff, as well as gecko breeding.
Okay. All right. How would you define yourself?
Yeah.
It's all about you.
Well, I'm actually an engineer by trade.
Okay.
Electrical engineer is my degree, and I do automation engineering for large HVAC systems. So making people uncomfortable all the time, you know.
Okay. Great.
Um, and then I do the Pet Pedes and Pods business on the side. Um, and I also have a hobby farm with my husband here.
Just a hobby farm, I guess, huh? It looks a lot bigger
It
than a
is,
hobby,
yeah.
but okay. All right. What was your first exotic pet?
Oh gosh, I think it was a butterfly agama when I was like 6. Unless you want, I think we bought her at a pet store. I don't know. I was like 6 years old. My parents got her for me. Her name was Sandy. She was really cool. She knew her name and she would come when you called her. And I would like sit up at the top of the stairs and she'd run up the top of the stairs and then run back down and run back up. It was super fun. She was really cool.
Wow. Okay. What's been
Yeah.
your favorite exotic pet?
Ah, man, I have so many to choose from. I have so many to choose
Everybody
from.
has three or four usually when they tell me, but
Do goats count
sure,
as exotic pets?
sure.
Yeah, well, so definitely goats. Goats are the best.
Mhm,
Everybody should have a goat.
mhm,
I think some of my favorites in terms of if we're still talking
mhm.
vertebrates, things with spines, I think maybe the Chihuahua geckos, they
Okay.
have a lot of personality. They're kind of like little puppies
Mhm,
in lizard form, and they're a lot of fun.
mhm.
And then, of course, my favorite isopod, if you were to ask me that, is the zebra isopods. Those
Okay.
are my favorite. They are really cool. They come in flavors. So you have your traditional black and white zebras, and then you have the yellow zebras, which are yellow and black, and then the champagnes, which I isolated. And I believe they're hypomelanistic, but they're like a real light brown and white, which are cool.
Wow.
And some other variations in there as well.
All right. What if you could have any pet that you could actually own? I guess we'll just say any pet.
Well, my husband and I talk about this a lot because he wants a polar bear,
Mhm.
and does not believe me that that is just the worst idea ever and it would murder him. He is convinced that he could cuddle with it.
Mhm.
I think if I could have anything that I could possibly choose, it would either be a sloth or a red panda.
Okay, that's awesome. Yes, actually, Clint, I think probably had the worst one. He was my last podcast, and he said he wanted gorillas because
Gorillas?
yes, he had been
Oh,
down at
wow.
Animal Kingdom down in Florida, and he had taken care of gorillas for a while, and so they wouldn't really
Okay.
be a pet.
I mean, gorillas are just they're kind of like people, so I feel like that would just be a terrible pet. Like any ape or monkey of any sort. Like that's at the level of like I don't want human children, and I feel like that would be way too close.
Yes, that would be definitely that. I have five of them, and I think they're probably just on different days. Depends on
They're
where
terrible
they
pets,
are.
right?
Yeah,
Like that's
exactly,
like nothing
exactly.
against human children, they're just awful
Yes,
pets.
exactly. Very true. You won't tell them I said that, but I'm sure they'll watch this.
No, of course not.
All right. Um, so, what exotic pets have you kept in the past? There's been a lot, I'm sure.
Um, it's been a lot, yeah. So I grew up with them. My mom is allergic to everything,
Mhm.
so we didn't have dogs or cats or birds or anything like that. So I've had Well, let's see. At one time, I accidentally bred green anoles when I was a kid because I had a couple girls, and somebody at the pet store convinced us that they really wanted a boy, and they did enjoy him, and they had many children. I've had tree frogs, a lot of different invertebrates growing up, newts. Used to be able to find newts really
Mhm.
easily at pet stores and stuff, but now they like non-existent. Um, and then like currently I have oh, I had a bearded dragon growing up also. I got him when I was 11 and he went to college with me and that was a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed him. But currently I have an entire outbuilding of animals, which are all the invertebrates, so the isopods, all the varieties of millipedes, arachnids. I breed jumping spiders, and then I have some other cool arachnids like the vinegaroons and tail swipe scorpions. I haven't done any breeding with them yet. Um, as they're a little more challenging, and even just to get pairs. And then I have beetles. So I do the blue death fading beetles, which again, not breeding, but then quite a few different types of darkling beetles that I do breed. And then all of the geckos. I've got a bunch of New Caledonian gecko varieties. I have some Borneo cat geckos, um, viper geckos, Binus geckos, little tiny desert geckos, that sort of stuff. And then on the farm, we have the goats
Mhm.
and the alpacas and a potbelly pig and a goose and a duck and some chickens. And they're a lot of fun.
Wow, I don't think I could even go through that and get from memory, but I guess you're just probably thinking about different areas and where they're at. And
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty.
okay,
I'm sure I missed some things inside, but
okay, sure.
yeah.
All right. So, what was your first reptile show that you ever went to?
I remember going to one when I was a kid. I feel like it was at the IAX Center in Cleveland.
Mhm.
I have no idea what show it was, because I know the original one in Ohio was the Columbus one, and we never went to that one growing up. And then as an adult, I started, we started going to the Cleveland Reptile Show when it was at the UAW hall,
Mhm.
um, as attendees and then as vendors.
Now, you've ended different shows. What shows do you vend at currently?
The Cleveland Show in Medina, the All Ohio Reptile Show in Hilliard at the Franklin County Fairgrounds. Those are monthly. And then the Northeast Ohio Reptile Show in Girard is every other month. And then we also do Rexpo in Rochester, New York.
Okay, why Rexpo? It seems like an oddity of far away.
It's not that far. It's only about 4 hours for us. It's you get on 90 and you drive until you
Mhm.
get there. And it's a big show. It's also one day and it's on a Saturday.
Okay,
So theoretically, you could drive up Friday night and come back after the show. We don't do that. We usually drive up Friday and come back Sunday morning.
okay.
But it's an easy show to do.
Mhm.
I have a lot of customers in that area because I do ship all over the country,
Mhm.
and I've always had a big base in New York, um, and that's kind of shown going to that show. Having people show up and come specifically during VIP hour at the beginning of the show to come see us and all of that. So it just makes sense. It's easier to do than something like the Tinley Park
Mhm.
show, um, because that's such a big time commitment. We actually did the Schaumburg show out there one time, and it was good. We did
Okay.
well, but that's basically a 3-day commitment because setups on Friday, but they open it for VIPs, and then you're vending Saturday and Sunday. So you basically have to commit 3 or 4 days. That's multiple days off work to go up there. And it's also like 6 hours if there's no traffic. And of course, there is traffic. So it's a huge time commitment, whereas Rexpo is a nice, easy,
Okay.
one
So,
day show. And
how was Schaumburg? How does it compare to Tinley? Or I guess with other shows, Tinley is there's no comparison. I think between
yeah,
that
and
and
fun fact, I've never been to Tinley. We actually attempted to go to Tinley in March of 2020.
Mhm.
Got out there on Thursday, about 3 hours before everything shut down. So
Wow,
that was
big
not
negative.
particularly fun. Yeah, so Schaumburg was good. We had a good time. From what I heard, it did not compare to Tinley. It was also the first Schaumburg show that we did because it was like right when they reopened after COVID. But it was good. We had a good time,
How big was it
made good
compared to
money.
other shows that you've been at?
It was big. I mean, they had a really big ballroom. There were a lot of big vendors there that you don't necessarily see other places, like Pangea and some of the other big
Mhm.
names were all there, which is cool. A lot of the Cleveland, a lot of the Ohio vendors are there. It's so funny, we have a lot of Ohio is like the original reptile show area, and so we have a lot of the like big time reptile people here. So we go to any show and it's like, oh, I know half the people here. Rex does the same way. Yeah.
I was in the Pittsburgh Mega Show this weekend, and I actually saw the people who run the Ohio show, the two Ohio shows there. The one guy
Yeah,
was there just running his. That was the first time he was there ever before, and I'm just like,
that's funny.
"You're out of place here." But he goes to Tinley and he goes to a bunch of other shows.
Yeah,
But it was very strange to see him there. But anyways, okay. Um, so describe your company, your Pet Pedes and Pods. What is it exactly?
yeah. So my main concentration is on bioactive. So bioactive enclosures, bioactive cleanup crew. So really, like the bread and butter are the isopods and springtails. I have, a nice large collection. I've got the fancy ones, but the main focus is always on bioactive. So if you need, isopods and springtails to go into your nice planted vivarium, that's what I'm here for. So, and then I provide all the supplies to set those up as well. So, we can get you started to build your own. I can do custom builds for you, whatever you need, to get your animal into a, more natural environment and get that little self-sustaining ecosystem going. And then, in addition to that, I also, provide pet bugs for people who want pet bugs, collector bugs for people who want to expand their collections, because, isopods are, they're the gateway bugs, right? So you get one and you go, "Oh, I need some more of these now." I've kept this one culture going, and now I've noticed that they're very cute and I need some more. I have a lot of repeat customers where they buy cleanup crews and they go, "Wow, these are really adorable, and I would like to just keep them separate." So then we set them up with something separate.
Okay. Do you ship all year round? I mean, we're in a cold area here because you're in the
Yeah.
Cleveland area by me, but
hmm
so you do ship all year round. Okay.
I ship year round. Honestly, the heat for me is more concerning than the cold.
Mhm.
If it's cold outside, I can look at the weather and know the coldest that it can get in my box. If it's hot outside, I can't tell you that, because if it's sitting in the back of a truck, it can get real hot. So there, I do have a hard cutoff on temperature limits in the summer. If it's too hot, I just will hold something and not ship. Unfortunately, sometimes if somebody orders from Arizona, I may be holding on to their order for 3 months. And I just communicate that to people and let them know. And sometimes, we just end up canceling, and sometimes they're okay with that. And I hold on to an order for 3 months until it cools off in the fall.
Wow.
Winter's not usually an issue. I don't ship over the holidays, just because there's a lot of other, volume in the system,
Things get
and so you can
stuck.
run
Yeah.
into delays. Yeah, but I ship everything 2 days, so it gets there in 1 to 2 days if you're close. If you're in Ohio, it gets in one day.
Mhm.
Um, and then ship with insulated boxes and temperature control, and I've been doing it a while.
That's
It's
great.
yeah.
Okay. So this is not your day job that we're talking about.
It is not.
It's
No,
not okay.
no.
So
Yeah,
you did talk about your day job, the heating, cooling, AC stuff, the controllers,
yeah,
for that kind of stuff. So wow, that's
yeah,
really neat. So so I guess you do know about cooling and heating from a different perspective there as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all right. Um, how did your business get to this level? I mean, how long have you been actually? First, how long have you been doing it?
I started a business in 2019. I had, obviously been keeping things for a long time, and then just saw that there was kind of a market, and realized that, if I could get into the Cleveland show, I could, sell some things.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a collector, so started collecting things and it was going well. So I got into the Cleveland show, after some waiting, because this is when it was at the UAW hall, so it was crammed and there was a
Sure.
wait list. So,
Well, there's
so I
still a
got
wait
in
list
there.
for most people, but
Yeah.
less
Yeah, there's
training's
still a
going
wait
on and
list.
people
Yeah,
will
but
get
it's,
it.
yeah, yeah. So I got in there, and started vending. And at first it was just kind of like on a month-to-month basis. Like if he had a table for me, then I would find out on like Wednesday and I would go. And that was funny because we would be sitting at the table and people would come up and they would go, "What are you selling?" And I would explain to them and they go, I can find this outside, right? And I have to explain to them, well, but this is different. It's not like what you find outside. And also, you shouldn't like just go outside and put these things in with your captive bred animals because, biosecurity. And so, we did that. And so that was in 2019. So I vended in 2019, started vending in 2020. Everything shut down.
Sure.
And and I was like, wow, well, this sucks. So I was in the process at the time of getting my permits, because isopods are actually classified as plant pests, so they're restricted by the USDA APHIS division. So you have to have permits to move them across state lines. Yeah,
I didn't know
and at the
anything about
time,
that. So
yeah, yeah, and a lot of people know now. At the time, people had just found out. It had been this way for a long time, but people had just found out. And the permits are free. They're just complicated, and I've had to do them a couple times because it's only for so many years, and it has changed dramatically on a year-to-year basis of what they allow and how you do the permits. But so I was in the process of doing that. So I got all my permits finished up. I built a website on like Google websites with like a Google form where you could like select what you wanted, and then I would send you like an invoice. It was terrible. It was terrible, but it did work. And I started selling online, and I had a very good year in 2020,
wow, yeah,
because
just things. Everyone was at home and they needed something to do.
everybody was at home and they needed something to do, and they were setting up terrariums for their animals, which just makes sense. So that was good. That really got the online business off the ground. And then once things opened back up, started vending, kept the website open. I ended up getting a new website built professionally, because the Google form was terrible. And the reason I say it's terrible is because with a website, the idea is for somebody to be able to go onto my website, click add to cart, and then buy it, and not have to play 20 questions with me of, well, is this really what you want? Where would you like me to ship it? Because of course they wouldn't actually fill out that information. Um, and getting it professionally built, I had to do that because we have shipping restrictions. So not everything that I sell can go to every state, but I can't just say, well, I don't ship to these states, because I do. I ship these specific things to the states. So that was a hurdle to get past.
What is your next step?
Well, I mentioned a little bit. I've kind of expanded into geckos. It's just kind of a natural
Mhm.
progression, because it's something I kept anyway. I really enjoy them. They go hand in hand with those natural vivarium setups. So it just makes sense. I also like with the New Caledonians because they don't really, it's room temperature for most of them, or at least room temperature of what my space is, in the upper 70s.
Kind of like my
Um,
room, so 74 degrees because that's
exactly,
when it
yeah.
needs to be here. So
So they're easy to keep. They really don't take a lot of maintenance. You put them in a bioactive, you're spraying them daily and you're feeding them a couple times a week, and it's just really easy upkeep. They don't take up a ton of space. So in terms of, something to breed and sell to the general public, I like that because it's not something that is going to be really difficult for people to care for. Like I'm confident that I could take this animal that I raised up from a little baby and give it to somebody and have them, be set up for success to take care of this little creature and not worry like, oh, you're going to mess up this one thing and they're going to die immediately. They're hardy, they're easy to take care of. So that makes me happy.
yes, sure. I have 5 New Caledonia geckos. So
Yeah.
I used to have had Ann Panetz, who's going to be my next podcast, where we're doing her again. But I had 8 of hers, and she just came and got them as she was investing.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I
What
had
kinds do you have?
I have chihuahuas, the chameleon gecko, and a crested gecko. And what else do I have?
Okay.
I've got 5.
You said 5.
Yeah, 2 chihuahuas, crested gecko, chameleon gecko, and a robusto.
Oh, okay.
I got them all from the Reptiles of Eden. I just did, and
I
I
have a
actually
lot from them too.
the
Yeah.
Busto. I had it for 4 or 5 months. I thought it had passed. I thought it was like it was. I was feeding the cage, and I just religiously every 3 days a week I fed the cage, and I fed the cage, and I fed the cage, and I just like what, one of these days I'm going to have to tear this cage down or put something in it because it's in. And one night I came home in the middle of the night, there it was. It was out there 5 times its size it was originally. And this, it's weird because I also had another story with the crested when I thought that one had passed, and I was cleaning out the cage, and at the bottom under newspaper, there jumped out at me, and it was like, "Why are you bothering me? Why'd you tear my cage apart?"
I
I
was
was just
so
like,
comfy in
"Oh."
here. Oh my gosh.
So when you say they're very hardy, I agree.
Yeah, that's
But sometimes
funny.
they're very secretive. But
Well, so fun fact, what you just described
mm,
is keeping millipedes, but
mm.
all the time.
Okay.
It's, I always tell people because they're like, they're going to get like one millipede. And I'm like, okay, but you have to understand, you have pet dirt now. You may see this sometimes, but most of the time you have pet dirt. So maybe get like a couple, and then you will have still pet dirt, but maybe you will see
So
them
I had a
slightly
neon green
more
pothos
often.
that was beautiful in the cage. So
Yeah.
I was that was a pet.
So
That was
you
a
had a
pet. It was
pet
a pet
pothos, yeah.
pet. Plant, and then I just saw, hey, this guy actually exists still. So there you go. I'm going to
That's
keep feeding him. I
awesome.
was like, I got to keep feeding him. I haven't seen him, but I'm just going to keep feeding him, and keep feeding him. That's
Yeah.
sometimes with chameleons. That's what you have to do as well. With the
Yeah.
little ones, you just have to. You see them every 3 or 4 days, and you just have to be 100% sure that you feed them regularly. You feed those every day, almost, especially when they're little. But you just have to have faith that they're going to show up at some point in time because they're
Yeah.
so tiny in such big cages. But
Yeah.
okay, so what's your goal for this business?
Um, well, ideally I'd love to have it be my full-time gig and, quit my real job and have this be my real job.
Hmm.
But I think we're a ways away from that. Um, but I think just, keep growing and
Hmm.
grow the base. And we were doing a couple more shows, and it was a lot with, especially because I work full time, my husband works full time, and it was just a lot. So I think we're in a good spot with the number of shows that we're doing, selling online, and just kind of trying to expand what we're doing and what we're offering and see where it goes. I mean,
You got
if you
that
told me
tiny
5 years
farm to care
ago,
for as well, so
what's
you've got
that?
a lot of you got a tiny farm to care for as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what did you
Yeah,
call it? What
they're
type
easy
of
though. It's a
farm?
hobby farm. Yeah, I
Hobby
mean,
farm. That's right.
it
Okay.
it is. We are actually zoned agricultural. And with the alpacas we are doing fiber production. But I mean, we do it because it's fun.
Mhm.
If we can make a little extra money on it, then that's great. But and all the farm animals are super easy. They're pretty self-sufficient. We've got pasture and all that, so it's pretty much letting them out in the morning, putting them in at night.
That's
It's,
great.
pretty
That's
straightforward.
really
Yeah.
neat. I I got a lot of work here as well. I've got a lot of things that are uh, that are not really for money, but for fun. But
Yeah.
it's you just go through it and you kind of keep going. So, what else can you tell you about? Can you tell us about you or your husband and you or your
Oh, let's see. What else?
what does he do?
He's a college professor. He teaches chemistry.
Really?
Um, mhm. Yeah, yeah. He has two masters. He has a master's in forensic science and a master's in pure chemistry.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and he's been teaching. Yeah, he thought he was going to work at a crime lab. That was his goal since he was like 5 years old. And then when we graduated, there were like no government jobs. There was like one in the entire country, and like his entire class applied for it along with like 500 other people. He got an interview, which was very impressive.
Mhm.
But that was it. That was the only government job that was available in 2011. And so he took a teaching position just, to fill the gap until he found something and absolutely loved it. And he's been doing it ever since. So,
Wow. Yeah, my
yeah,
youngest daughter, who's 17, is going to Bowling Green with the idea of maybe forensic pathology, criminal
cool.
justice, something in that ballpark, but
Yeah,
or archaeology. So I guess they kind of like
that's a
go
that's a
together.
range.
But we told her, hey, you could be Indiana Jones. She's like, no, Indiana Jones is a thief. I don't want to be that guy. And I was like,
That's true. That's
that's a
true.
totally different perspective that I never would have come up with
Yeah.
because he was a hero to us.
Yeah.
Like my generation, I'm a wee bit older than you, but still, it was like, wow, never thought of that before.
I love that. Well, you could be an ethical Indiana Jones. That's what
Right,
you could do.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that by the time I got done thinking about that and being surprised when she was up in the room again, never had much of a
Like, I've never thought
conversation.
about that.
Right,
Yeah, that's great.
exactly. All right. So, how can we reach you? How can people reach you? Probably by your
Uh,
website, huh?
yeah, it's www.petpedesandpods.com.
Mhm.
I'm also on Facebook, Instagram. Pet Pedes and Pods. So yeah, website's good, email is good, messenger on either of the socials, any of those ways get you to me. It always makes me laugh when we're at a show and somebody's like, "Oh, I think I talked to your husband online." You talk to me, just me. Um,
He's quite
but
a talkative fellow. I don't know.
yeah. Hey, he always says he's the muscle at the shows, but
Is that what he is?
he knows what he says.
I
That's what
saw
he
him.
says.
He was
But
alone at the Northeast Ohio show when I went,
yeah,
so he actually
yeah.
managed to, do the whole thing and appear to do that. It's just that
He does
you,
a great job. Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
mean,
did a
yeah,
great
he does a
job,
great
but
job. He knows
he,
all the stuff.
he
He
bought
pays
a bunch of
attention.
stuff, but
Yeah,
he would just rather sit in the back and be quiet. And,
absolutely.
there
Yeah,
you go.
yeah,
Okay, so all
yeah.
right. Any final words for the people watching or listening?
Oh, I should also shamelessly plug my orchestra.
Sure,
Um,
no, absolutely. Go
yeah.
ahead. This is
So,
all about you. This isn't about your job or your business. This is
yeah,
just we talk about that on the live show, but when we get into this, we can get into whatever you do. So talk
yeah.
about it.
So also because I'm not busy enough, I also play flute and piccolo with the Euclid Symphony Orchestra, and I'm also president of the board of trustees for that organization. Um, so it's a completely volunteer community orchestra in Euclid. We've been around for over 60 years, not me personally, but the orchestra. Um, and I've been playing in the orchestra for like 17, 18 years, something like that. I started when I was in high school with the group, and I've been playing ever since. It's a really fun group. If you play an orchestral instrument, we would love to have you join us. If you want to come listen to some orchestra music, we'd love to have you come to a concert. Our next one is on June 2nd, which is a Sunday at 3 o'clock at Shore Cultural Center in Euclid. And also, if you just want to support the arts, you can always donate to us. We're a nonprofit 501(c)(3, totally tax deductible.
Okay, all right. There's that plug. That's how to reach her. Just donate to her organization, and you'll get her attention there. All right. So what else about you did I not ask about, or did you forget to tell us?
Oh, I don't know. I think that covers it.
That's
It's a
a
lot of
whole bunch
things.
of stuff, a whole bunch of
Yeah.
time, and I don't know how you do all that, but guess you don't have any of those little human people running around causing you
That
trouble
that
like I do.
helps a lot. Yeah, that
Yeah.
helps a lot. This is basically what we do instead of having children. So, yeah, yeah, nothing but respect for people who can do that with the small children because that just sounds so exhausting to me.
Yeah, it's been an enjoyment, but each
Yes,
their own. Some people like geckos, some people like monitors, some people wouldn't have a lizard in their house, or
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So just exactly things the way things are. Okay. So
We
any final? Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say we moved here in July to this property, and
Mhm.
we had like a housewarming party, and the neighbors here are super nice, and they actually like it's like a little community, which is new to us because where we lived before, like we didn't talk to the neighbors, and so everybody here is really nice, and so they came to our housewarming party. They didn't know about the bugs and the geckos, and so as part of the housewarming party, we did a reptile and bug room tour, and they were like, "Oh, this is very interesting." And yeah, I think they were just wholly unprepared for that. So, but I mean, they seemed legitimately interested, so that was fun.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So are there farms around you or hobby farms or whatever?
There are some, yeah. So we're in Olmsted, which is it's an interesting mix because it is a township. Our neighbors have horses right next to us, and then on the other side, everybody has some acreage. But then like across the street, there's a development. So it's just like a mix of,
Mhm.
suburban and rural, and we're zoned agricultural, so
City
we are,
Planning
yeah.
and Zoning Commission nightmare, but
I'm
that's always
sure it
great
is,
because
yeah. But this
that's
whole area used to be farmland, and
Mhm.
then it's just kind of been, divided up, and some places are still farms and some places aren't.
That's great. Okay. All right. Any final words for the Ventures? I've asked this like 5 times, but but that you keep
Nah.
saying different stuff. It's like what I do when I'm walking out of an exam room. I don't go to the door. I ask what else can I do for you, and they always have something else. So
Yep.
that's my way of saying that. So what else? What can you say to them?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for having me.
Hmm. Yeah, it was very good. I've seen you. You've got that prominent spot in the Cleveland Reptile shows. As soon as you pay, you walk in. There you are, right
It
there.
is a great spot. Yes. Yes.
thanks for being here. I guess I should say as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here, and I really appreciated your time.
If you enjoyed this adventure and want to be alerted when more are available, please click the subscribe and maybe even the bell button. Thank you.